And the thing about when you're here in New York is that you never know when you may run into WWE wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
Just milling through the halls here.
Oh, yeah, I saw Windy with Danhausen yesterday.
Yeah, who was that vampire guy you were with?
That's Danhausen that I was talking about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
How is he like super duper? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. We spent 45 minutes in the green room, Lindsay. Is he like a superstar?
So he recently came over from Tony Khan's promotion, AEW. He was signed like not even 6 months ago. And he's got this gimmick where he just talks funny and he tells people, you are cursed. And he's just like a quirky guy. And he's similar to like Doink the Clown.
I was just going to say, this feels very Dink and Doinkish the Clown.
Totally.
Yes.
And he's like, everybody loves him because he's funny. And I'm sure his gimmick will wear thin soon, but he's very funny and he's super hot at the moment because he's new to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say two things. One, he walks around with a jar of teeth.
Yes, that's true.
Wasn't a fan of that. I'm just not going to.
No, wait a second. Can you explain? Does that mean like those are his teeth, or what is that supposed? What's the gimmick?
Teeth of people he's vanquished or something.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Like you're worried he's going to take some of
yours? And the teeth
yours?
have like fillings and stuff in them. I want to talk about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he also cursed the Cavs yesterday.
He did. He definitely did.
He definitely cursed the Cavs yesterday. By the way, speaking of wrestlers, have you seen this thing that's gone viral on the internet in like one of these like smaller promotions where there's this character, the guy plays a character called Jesus and he's dressed like Jesus and he doesn't actually touch the wrestlers. He literally like just moves his hands and like they flip and they'll like, it is, you have to find this online. It is absolutely hilarious. It looks like, like kind of like Star Wars, like Darth Vader does like the choke thing where he actually is not choking you, but like he'll move you like with the Force. It is very similar to that. It is absolutely wild to watch these wrestlers act with the way the guy's hands are moving.
Oh, that's funny. That I want to see. Now, what about that other wrestler, Wendy, that you were on First Take with this morning? That older guy who goes crazy. I think his name is Mad Dog. He's also a WWE character, right?
I love the dog.
Yeah.
You're not getting me to say anything bad about the dog.
No, he's awesome.
Okay.
He's great.
I love the dog.
Yep.
I tell you what, I love Windy, okay? Windy Wednesdays on that Sedano and Kaplan show. I love that show.
It's your best one, George. That's your best one, no doubt about it. So Wendy, obviously we started today's show talking about what happened last night between the Knicks and the Cavs. And, I mean, dude, I was on the phone with friends. We were watching the game, and I'm like, this game is so boring. It is so unentertaining. It is not competitive. And then all of a sudden, the Knicks go on this crazy run. So are you crediting the Knicks for the run, or are you saying that the Cavs choked?
Yeah, it's both. If you watched what happened in this game, I mean, here's the thing. You guys have all watched a lot of basketball. You know that when you blow a basketball lead, it's never one thing. You may lose a game. The actual losing or game-winning play may come down to a hero and a GOAT, but it's never like that. It always requires – first off, I'm going to tell you right now, there's always a missed free throw. I'm just going to tell you that. You want to go back to any collapse in the history of the sport, there's always a missed free throw. George, the 2013 series in Miami.
Yeah. Two missed free throws.
Ginobili missed a free throw. Kawhi missed a free throw. There's always missed free throws. The Cavs missed 3 free throws, 3 very important free throws in that situation. That's just an example of things that happen. It was Jalen Brunson being great. Jalen Brunson was, he hit 7 shots in the fourth quarter. He was absolutely super clutch. He hit driving layups. He had mid-range shots. He had threes. That happened. The Cavs did nothing on offense. This is a team. It's a very good offensive team. Top 6-7 offensive team.
6-7.
6-7.
Top 6-7 offensive team in the league. Top probably 3-ish offensive team in the playoffs. They were awesome throughout 3 quarters. They quit playing offense down the stretch. And you watch the highlights, you won't see any of that because it's boring, but they just quit running offense. They were running one pass possessions, taking a contested 3. They were foul baiting. It was the worst. And the Knicks get credit for that because they turned up their defense. All of those things happened. James Harden was getting absolutely toasted. He wasn't directly guarding Brunson. He was guarding the other guard, and they would just, and again, you're not going to see that on the highlight, but they switched it. It wasn't, they just switched, wherever Brunson was guarding, Brunson could have been guarding, or Harden could have been guarding the popcorn guy. They would have brought the popcorn guy down to set a screen. I don't even think they have popcorn guys at the Garden, but whatever, you get my point. And they forced the situation. And the Cavs sat there with 4 timeouts. And, when you are struggling on offense and you can't get into your offense, especially when you just quit running stuff, and you have a problem on your defensive coverages, the baseline thing that you do in the NBA is you do what?
When you have what again? Sorry.
If you can't get into your offense,
right,
and you've got a major coverage problem on defense, what is the first thing that you do?
You got a major coverage, you go to zone.
Well, you call timeout.
Oh, well, yeah.
You call timeout. You call timeout, and then you say, okay, we're getting toasted on defense, so we're gonna change our coverage.
Right.
And by the way, when we get the ball on offense, we're gonna run this play. Okay, that's what you do. And maybe the play doesn't work, and maybe the new coverage doesn't even work, but you can't do the same thing over and over. They ran the same essentially isolation play, I believe, on 6 or 7 straight possessions. Brunson scored on, I think they ran 8 straight isolations, and Brunson scored on 7 of them.
Why?
Well, here's the other thing I would say. The Cavs really started taking the air out of the ball, like with about 7 minutes to go. Like they were draining the clock. It was like, what are you doing? And they were settling for these bad jumpers at the end of the shot clock. I mean, all these Evan Mobley threes. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it just made none of what they did made any sense. Donovan Mitchell, I believe the score was, I want to say, still just barely double digits. Had a chance at a layup and then kicked it out. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like granted, the Harden thing is going to be the thing people focus on. The Kenny Atkinson thing, understandably, is something that people are going to focus on. But all of them played a role in this.
Yeah, and they also got tired. They were tired. The fatigue thing kicked in, and they got dead-legged. And the thing is, the most timeouts you can possibly have going into the fourth quarter is 4. Okay, if you don't call any of those timeouts at the 3-minute mark, a timeout. The timeouts are taken away. The most timeouts you can have in the last 3 minutes is 2. That's why you often see, even if a team doesn't need a timeout, in the 3-minute zone, you will see a coach call it, because it's always good to give your players a breather, and it's always good to draw up a play. Always. I mean, obviously, if you're in a fast break situation and you've got a 3-on-1 break and there's 3:05 left, you're not calling a timeout there.
Well, by the way, Mike Brown was criticized earlier these playoffs for doing something similar to that you just described.
They call it the use it or lose it timeout. Well, the Cavs had 2 of them in their pocket. And all of these things were happening, and they wouldn't call timeout. And Kenny Atkinson was asked after the game, and he said, I like to save my timeouts for the end of game. And he's been criticized for that. In a vacuum, that's correct. You always want to have the maximum 2 timeouts in the last 3 minutes. 1, in case you need to drop a play, and 2, in case you need to challenge, which the Cavs had not challenged. So I absolutely agree that you should try to save the 2 timeouts if you can. However, he had 4.
Mm-hmm.
He had 4 timeouts.
Yeah, why didn't anybody follow up and say, well, you had 4?
I don't know, Lindsay.
I mean,
what do you want me to say?
Well, how about like an assistant coach on the bench going, hey, coach, we got these extra timeouts here.
Or even the players, right?
And all of a sudden, it's
Kathy,
turned into
I promise you it was happening.
Yeah.
Okay? The referees know they can feel in a game when they think there should be a timeout. They look at the coach.
They're starting to look constantly.
They're not normally looking at the coach. But, when Brunson keeps scoring, now the Cavs bench is behind the Knicks. So when they're turning up the court, they're looking at the Cavs bench, expecting to get a timeout. I'm sure everybody in the building said they're going to call timeout.
Right.
I'm sure the Knicks City Dancers or whoever was next up in the timeout rotation was on the balls
ready to go.
Their feet, ready
Let's
to
go,
come
coach,
in.
timeout. I want to dance.
Everybody thought there was a timeout coming. No timeout came.
Well, let me ask you this, though, Wendy. Cleveland had a very rough 7-game series against Detroit, and New York had a very easy 4-game series over Philadelphia. So when George and I were talking about this game yesterday, I said, well, I bet that Cleveland will come out hot, and eventually New York will shake off the rust, and they'll win the game. I didn't expect it to go down when I was watching it that way. But to me, this is kind of one of those demoralizing choke jobs.
Oh, my God.
That just buries a team before the series even gets started. How do you feel about that?
Maybe. I mean, this is the thing. Like, one of my, I hate to launch into my credos, my speeches, but one of the speeches that I always talk about is that in the NBA there's always time, and that
like
it's
your
like
son
one of the
said
core,
on the Hoop Collective podcast.
because he's heard me say it many times, that there's always time. The NBA basketball games, series, seasons are very, very long, and there's always time for redemption. And the Knicks proved that point last night, even down 22. I realize that it doesn't always happen, but the point is that the time is usually available. And so what I would just say is, this is one of the reasons why I never overreact to a series after game one. In 6 days, you could say that the Knicks could win this series 4-0 or 4-1, and you could say, well, I told you it was over after game one, and I would say, okay, you're right, congratulations. But the Cavs are 8-7. They've played 15 playoff games. They're 8-7. Okay, that's not a historically great team. That's a flawed team. They have had several very difficult losses in this postseason. They had a game where R.J. Barrett from the Raptors shot the ball and it bounced around the rim 3 times and fell in. They lost that game at the buzzer. They were down 2-0 to the Pistons in the last round. They were up 3-2 with a chance to clinch on their home court, and they laid a total egg, and then they bounced back and won Game 7. So, yeah, I agree. It looked like a gut punch and something that could really linger, but I will just say there's always time. And the Cavs did play very good basketball on Sunday, and they played about 18 minutes of very, very good basketball last night. And if they do that again in Game 2, they could get the win. It could be 1-1.
So, Brian, I've had them more than anyone this season, okay? Of any single team that I've had games with this year, they've been the team at the top. And I felt like that game was the perfect example of who they've been all year, where in one game you saw who they've been the entire season, where they've had that 18-minute stretch you talked about of like nearly flawless basketball, and then other stretches where it's a complete, utter disaster. And they don't look like they even know each other, let alone have played basketball together. And I just think because of that, the Knicks, for whatever it's worth, have been fairly connected, and I at least in the playoffs. And I think a lot of that is Mike Brown and Karl Anthony Towns have figured out Karl Anthony Towns' role, at least on this particular team. You know this as well as anyone. Karl Towns was not thrilled about the way he was utilized for most of this season, and now he looks like Magic Johnson out there. As a matter of fact, he wears 32 because Magic is his favorite player, he says. So, they have utilized him in a way that I think has allowed them to have this level of success. Obviously, Jalen Brunson is the engine there. But they have figured that out, and I think the rest of the pieces have been able to kind of fit around him because of the way they figured out Towns.
Yeah, and I will just say, yes, everything you said is correct. When they got desperate yesterday, they junked that offense. They went to just straight Brunson, pick and roll isolation basketball. And so, I think the Cavs had a plan for how to manage that Towns situation. Actually, one of the things that they did, they allowed James Harden to be on Towns, because one of the things about the new Towns offense is that when Towns gets the ball, Iman Shumpert, my colleague here at ESPN, former Cav, former Knick actually too, he calls it the cat scan, where Towns gets the ball and he just holds it up over his head like a palm,
with
and
the one hand,
he scans and he looks for cutters or whatever. And the point is he's not really moving. So the Cavs are like, that sounds like a great idea to put Harden on him because he doesn't have to move. And Harden is 6'6" and can use his size a little bit. And so actually that was kind of effective. And so Towns did have 5 assists. He still had somewhat of an impactful game. He was having double-digit assists against the Sixers, and he might have 12 assists tomorrow night. But it was actually interesting that the Cavs had a plan for that involved James Harden. And, I wouldn't say it neutralized it, but obviously they built a 22-point lead, dealing with it. But, I will say this. This is the 4th time in the last, I think, 3 years that the Knicks have been down 20 in a playoff game and won.
Wow.
You remember those 2 games against the Celtics last year, games 1 and 2 of that series, where the Celtics were heavily favored up in Boston. The Knicks were down 20 and came back and won those games. Brunson, his style of play and the way the Knicks can defend lends itself to the ability to make big comebacks. So if you're looking for a reason to believe in this Knicks team, not only have they figured out some things offensively, but they have routinely shown that 20 points is not something they can't overcome. They are a team that you have to kill. Yeah. And the Cavs may have learned that lesson a little bit too late, but who I would advise, if the Knicks do get 3 more wins, who might face them in the finals, that they should be aware of.
Hey, George, you want to talk about the Western Conference Finals with Lindy while we have them? Good. Before we do, hey, Lindsay, I'm being told by Royce Toney, who is one of our all-time greatest of great Sedano and Kap fans. He says that we've buried the lead here today. Apparently, this wrestler, Danhausen, lifted a curse of the Knicks a few weeks ago, Wendy. I don't know if you know this or not. And the Knicks have not lost a game since. Now, just wanted to wrap that part of this up.
I don't know about
Did you guys know about this?
No.
Wendy, you didn't talk to Danhausen about this?
I was briefed on all of this, yes.
Okay, you were briefed. Okay,
yes.
Just wanted to make sure. Because that
was briefed like a presidential.
I was with Danhausen for 45 minutes.
Okay, and he told you he lifted the curse of the Knicks.
I was briefed.
Okay, briefed. All right.
By the way,
yeah,
really enjoyed my time with him. I couldn't be more crystal clear. Love Danhausen.
Right, because you don't want to be on his bad side.
I didn't say anything.
Yes.
I said I love him.
All right.
Hey, great guy. Great, very accomplished wrestler. Love his character. Couldn't say enough good things.
All right. I understand that.
Didn't like the jar of teeth.
Understood. I mean, you said that already, and he's got teeth marks all over his costume. Going over to the Western Conference, though, when I look at what San Antonio was able to do, and I think back to the regular season, the number of times that these two teams played and the number of times that San Antonio won. I think they won 4 of 5 total.
In the regular season.
So I feel like everybody's opinion changed. Like, I watched Oklahoma City against the Lakers and went, they're insurmountable. And then I watched San Antonio play them and I go, I think San Antonio is going to win this series. I feel like everybody's tone changed after game 1 of that series. What do you say?
Well, again, what do I say? I say don't overreact to game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I say there's always time. Now, again, in 10 days, you may say, I told you I was over, you fool. And I might say, hey, you're right. Congratulations. You're a genius. Run for president. I will say this. JJ Redick had a fingerprint or two on that game.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that that the idea never would have come to Mitch Johnson. Oh, should we double team Shai? Oh, my God, a genius. But the Lakers, what they did to Shai was a bit of a roadmap. If you look at Shai's numbers over the 4 games against the Lakers, and you add in the game on Monday night, those are not MVP numbers. He's compared to his regular season numbers, he's down like 8 points a game. His shooting percentage is down. His free throw rate is down. That throwing the bodies at Shai has proven to slow him down. Now he's not scoring 2 points a game. He's still getting into the 20s, but this is a guy who's averaged 30 for I think 4 years running, and he's averaged I think 22 against the Lakers and the Spurs. So I actually think that might be a bigger deal than what Victor did. Now I know if you look at Victor's numbers and you see 41 points and 24 rebounds, you say unstoppable force, give him the next 7 titles. I actually think that the Thunder did a reasonable job on him defensively. And I hear people, I kind of got into, a good-natured argument with Iman Shumpert and Danny Green yesterday because they were calling for more Chet Holmgren on him. And I think the way they defended him, basically with wings, Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, I actually think was strategically acceptable because in regulation in the 4 quarters, he was 9 of 19 for 27 points. Now he had 17 rebounds in regulation. He had 7 offensive rebounds in regulation. That's harmful. And he was getting his offensive rebounds because he's a foot taller than the guys defending him. But you're going to give up some of that. 9 of 19 for 27 is very, very survivable. He got to 41 because he scored 12 of the last 16 points. He hit the 3-pointer, then he made 9 points in the second overtime where he somehow had more energy than everybody. I think it's a bigger deal that Shai is underachieving from his normal number. And yes, Alex Caruso was unguarded and he hit 8 threes, and I wouldn't bet on him hitting 8 threes tonight. But it could be other players who hit those threes. But the Thunder have been limited in their dominance because Shai has been limited in his dominance, and the Lakers kind of gave the pathway. The Spurs just happen to have better personnel and the 7'5" guy to put in as the ultimate trump card on the back line. But this is becoming a bit of a thing with Shai right now.
I would also add that Thunder in the first half were 5 of 17 on uncontested threes on Shai double team.
Absolutely.
And I think, because when I talked to Mark Dagnall at halftime, Brian, of the game, I said, hey, what do you make of your shot profile? He says, not the issue. He said, we've had good looks. It's just a matter of knocking them down. And then I saw the SIG note about it after I was done talking to him, because that was just off observation that they had missed so many threes. And that was the case. I will say this, the beauty, and you – I generally, when you're at a series I'm at, I will text you things that I think are interesting that I see in the huddles. And there were two things that stood out to me in that game. The first one was from the Spurs, okay? De'Aaron Fox was talking to Wemby about how to manage the Caruso defense on Wemby and how they were talking entry passes with him. And when they did that, it definitely helped, at least the ability for him to get the ball, because Caruso was obviously, chopping him down, basically, for lack of a better phrase. The other thing that I think that stood out was also involving Alex Caruso, and it was in an Oklahoma City Thunder huddle, which was probably late in the first quarter, maybe early second. And Alex Caruso gathered the troops and was like, yo, come here. He's like, Stephon Castle. He goes, we're not giving him any presentation defensively. We're allowing him to go one-on-one. He is their highest turnover ratio guy. We need to show a better presentation, show him more bodies, force him to move the ball. He will turn it over. So at that point, he only had the one turnover. Then he had 10 more after that. It was just fascinating to kind of watch the high-level IQ of the discussion, even before the coach gets into the huddle, of what these guys are made of and what these teams are made of, from their veterans to their young players to the way they interact. And I've done this now for several years. To me, it is as good a series to be involved in as any as I've done previously, because of the level of conversation I'm able to observe in these huddles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Lakers are not still playing because of their, overall roster health / talent deficiency compared to the Thunder and Spurs, not because of JJ Redick's game plan and in-game strategies. And I think that when you face a great player, you may go good on good and just get beat, and you have to accept that. What you don't want to do is feel like you are at a deficit against a great team because your team isn't prepared, or your team isn't given the best opportunity during a game. The Cavs last night can say that they didn't give the best effort. They did give themselves the best chance because they didn't handle their business well in the game. I don't think you can say that about the Lakers, at least in that playoff series with the.
You want me to get raw?
Real quick.
Like really, really raw? They can't win.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Lakers can't do anything against these San Antonio and Oklahoma City.
Do you also want to get really, really raw? Wendy, I think somebody from the Spurs is next door to me in this hotel. And I heard conversations that I felt like I know it's their hotel. And so I'm careful of what to say, because I heard someone just come back into the room now. How many times has that happened to you on the road where you're at the team hotel and you are careful of what you have to say upon one of your appearances?
I don't stay at the night. You stay at way nicer hotels than I do. If you want the real, I would never stay at a team hotel, because I don't stay at that level of hotel. I don't have that level of sway at the company.
Wow.
Give me a break. You're a Titanium Life member.
Well, yeah. I mean, after all of your travel tips last week, I figured you'd know how to get them for
Marriott's,
free.
Lindsay? They don't stay at Marriott's.
Oh, okay. Well, it's also Ritz-Carlton's part of the family.
Yeah, I would have thought you'd easily be able to stay
I'm not on that level. Wow. But I will say that it's interesting. This is like that how that reporter overheard Barry Bonds' grand jury testimony. TJ Quinn.
Yeah,
You know that story?
No.
Yes.
You know,
I
grand
don't.
jury testimonials are super duper secret.
Yeah.
And TJ Quinn was like in the hallway waiting to like interview the lawyers or whatever, and he like leaned up against the doorway, and somehow that doorway had a thin wall, and he heard Barry Bonds testify in front of the grand jury, and then reported on it, and like the judge and everybody freaked out because it was accurate. It's because he leaned up against the right wall. He's told this is not a secret. He's told this story. But George, like if you hear like Spurs game plan tactics,
Right.
like this could be very, very important.
Yeah.
Lindsay actually tried to get George to take a glass from the
Yeah.
bar in his hotel room and put it up against the wall.
All I heard was scheduling stuff. I didn't hear anything about it.
But you know that I got cursed out for being overheard at 5 a.m. in Phoenix. You know that story, right?
On Get Up. Yeah, I've heard that story.
Yeah,
Yes.
5 a.m. in Phoenix, and the woman, it was a woman, just to be clear, screamed at me at 5:20 a.m. to
Through the
shut
wall?
the F up.
Through the wall.
You know, through the wall.
Okay.
Can you give us an impression really quick before you go of what she sounded
I'm not
like?
going to yell, but I want to be clear. She screamed. Screamed.
Shut the F up.
Yes.
Basketball
and I started
boy.
talking much quieter. And by the way, I was in a room at the end. I was in a suite at the end of the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
I
So you are
took all
bougie.
precautions possible, and it did not matter.
You are bougie, Windy.
Shut the F up, basketball boy. I don't care.
Screamed it, and I started talking lower, and the producers in Greenberg was like, "Hey,
we
speak
can't hear
up,"
you.
and I was like, "Well."